Hello and welcome to another episode of In Case You Missed It on SportsMax and CEEN TV. Well, the Reggae Boyz are into the CONCACAF Gold Cup after defeating St. Vincent and the Grenadines 4-1 on aggregate. Meanwhile, in the Jamaica Premier League, Mount Pleasant is at the top of the JPL standings. And today, I'm so pleased to be joined by a footballer who plays for the Reggae Boyz, as well as he is the captain of the high-flying Mount Pleasant. Let's welcome to the show, Sule McCalla. Sule, how are things? How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good as well, and I heard that you had a big win yesterday. How was that for you, Captain?
It always feels good to win a game. So, we just keep climbing the table.
Yeah, and how much, let me start with the Reggae Boyz, because I mean, getting into the Gold Cup is such a big deal. How much are you enjoying being a part of the Reggae Boyz setup?
I'm enjoying it. It's a different level. It's a different challenge. So, I enjoy every challenge.
And is it something that you always wanted, wearing your national colors? What does that mean to you, Sule?
Well, definitely. It's a pleasure to wear the national colors as a footballer. That's a dream for every footballer to represent their country at the highest level.
Yeah, and representing your country, and now you are into the CONCACAF Gold Cup. How good does this feel?
Yeah, it really feels good. Want to represent at the highest level. Hoping to win this competition. So it feels really good to be representing in these tournaments for the national team.
Yeah, and we think, okay, the Reggae Boyz are strong and they're going to get past their opponents. But how challenging was it for you, coming up against St. Vincent and the Grenadines? Because coach kept saying, not to underestimate St. Vincent and the Grenadines. It's a tough opponent. Eventually, though, you won 4-1 on aggregate. But talk to me about the challenges that you would have faced up against this team.
They have some quality players. They're very quick, but over there in the first leg, they have a very overwhelming crowd. So the crowd got behind them, and they built a little momentum. So they were a little bit tough, but we know we would get past them.
Yeah, really, really good news that, you're into the Gold Cup now and you got over that opponent. But, I mentioned coach a short while ago, and I've had the opportunity to interview him a few times. What's it like for you, Sule, working alongside the former Manchester United assistant coach? He's now the head coach of the Reggae Boyz, Steve McLaren. How was it?
Well, McLaren, he's a very good coach. I've learned a lot from him over the short period of time. So he's a very good coach.
Yeah, you said learn a lot, and I have to pick your brains now. In what areas has he been able to help you lift your game just in a short time that you've had to work with him?
Well, playing in the JPL and the national team, it's a different level. So, positioning like the intensity of these games, there's a lot of difference, and he makes sure to make my mind to be ready for these type of games, because it's a lot different. The intensity level is very high, and the competition, it's a different level of competition. So he prepares me mentally.
Yeah. Okay, good. Very good to hear about that. And what I like about Coach McLaren is he's been very vocal, and he's been talking about the quality of the local talent in Jamaica. The last time he included 10 Jamaica Premier League players, which paid off with Warner Brown and then the Cavalier captain, Richard King. They played significant roles across both of the matches, and you are one of those same local talents that he's talking about. How good is it for you to actually see, members of the local teams here in Jamaica really making an impact for their country?
Yes, it's a big thing for the local players because over the years the local players have been criticized that the local players are not up to the level of international football. So it really um, make a statement for the local players, for us local players to go on the big stage and represent.
Yeah, and of course, I know the Jamaicans are right behind the local players because there's always that discussion, Sule, about, players coming into the setup, playing for other countries and everything, and finally coming into the Jamaica setup. But there's a thing about those supporters that really want to see their own homegrown talent do very well. So good to hear that. Now that qualification has been secured, Jamaica will have to turn all their attention to the Gold Cup draw. That draw is on April 10. Now, the Reggae Boyz, they're in pot 2. And because of that, Sule, y'all could face tournament powerhouses like the United States. There's also Mexico, Canada, even Panama. How confident are you that you and your team can get past these very big teams?
Well, over the years, Jamaica came up against Mexico, US, Panama, Canada, all these teams, and sometimes we fell short. But this time around, the coach, has preparing us mentally that we want to go all the way to win this tournament. And I think personally, it's about time that we win this tournament.
Do you think the team has what it takes to get that job done? Because, it's one thing to reach to the final, but it's one thing to be crowned champions.
Yeah, definitely. We think we have everything to win. The players, the coach have confidence in us. So, we just have to continue our preparation and to stay focused.
But what about you, Sule? You say preparation. Do you need to work on anything in particular in any area of your game in order to get ready?
Yeah, definitely. Every day I come out on the pitch, I try to improve physically, mentally. I try to improve each day. So, so in every year I try to improve.
We're going to talk now just about this one thing because I'm Trini, right? You know
Yes.
that? So
Yes,
you scored for your country against my country, Trinidad and Tobago, in Jamaica in that international friendly match. Did it feel good for you?
Definitely, it felt good. It's my first international goal, so it really feels good.
Yeah, talk to me about what was going through your mind, when you got that goal and, just the time that you got to reflect on it, because they always say once you start scoring, you're going to continue scoring. Talk to me about that.
Well, it's a chance, really and truly, like, I live for these moments, like, balls in the box, I try to put myself in position to finish them. So, I really, most of the time during games, I really always in those kind of position and situation.
Yeah, really, really good. And that camp that was held between Trinidad and Tobago and Jamaica, what did you think about it? And how important are camps like these, for the players to get the opportunity to practice against opponents like these?
Yeah, it's really important because Jamaica, Trinidad, we are probably the best teams in the region. So it's important to compete with each other and to look at our local players. So and give our local players the opportunity to make the next step.
Yeah, and we're talking about coach again, and he continues to stress that one of the main objectives for Jamaica's national team is to be at next year's 48-nation FIFA World Cup, and that would be in the United States, Mexico, and Canada. And as you know, automatic spots would be there for the 3 host nations that have generated confidence, and there's also more room for Jamaica to make it to what we call the big dance. So how do you feel about about your team's chances now when it comes to qualifying for the World Cup, and what would it mean? Because, you know, I recently saw Rennie Simoes here, coach that was part of the setup when Jamaica qualified last time. What would it mean for you? Can you imagine, Sule, going to a World Cup?
Yeah, that's the biggest tournament in the world. So, you know, wow, that would be a dream for every footballer. As you can see, a lot of great footballers around the world have never played in the World Cup. So, making it to the World Cup for Jamaica would be such an amazing moment.
And you know, whenever I talk to other journalists and analysts and sometimes former players and everything, they say to me that this current Reggae Boyz setup is maybe even stronger than the team that went to the World Cup. Some would say, some would of course disagree. But what are your thoughts on that? Do you think this current Reggae Boyz setup has what it takes and might be stronger and would be able to take their country to a World Cup?
Well, I'm not sure if it's stronger, but the game has developed over the period of time. So I'm not sure it's stronger, but you know, we are very good. We know what we can do, and we know that we can qualify for the next World Cup.
Yeah. Well, let's talk now about the Jamaica Premier League. How would you summarize your performance for Mount Pleasant this season? Because every time I talk about the JPL on my show, I have to talk about them being at the top of the table, a lot of the other teams far behind when it comes to points. How would you summarize your season?
Mid-season is going very well. Top of the league, so you know we are the most consistent team in the league, and we just want to keep that going throughout the season, and you know to be champion at the end.
But what contributes to that consistency? How come the team is so consistent?
Well, we try to create an atmosphere of like we never get complacent. No one has no time to get comfortable. The coaches really push that. So, and me and other senior players, we try to enforce that. Like, you know, we don't want any player to get comfortable. Everyone needs to be on their game. And the squad is very big. So, you know, as someone not having like a bad game or two, you know, there's competition. Like, you know, other players can step in.
Yeah, and you speak about complacency, and you know I have to ask you about this. You are the captain, and you have to guide a lot of young players, right? Because Mount Pleasant is known for having a lot of the academy players in the first team, and it's something that you know a lot of the other teams don't have. Is it a difficult job for you trying to guide these youngsters?
Well, sometimes it can be challenging, but at the end they have to understand, and we try to let them understand. Like sometimes it's not every day they're gonna come. They're gonna feel the energy, the motivation, and that's when you know myself has to step in and say, look, this is what you're here for. This is a purpose, and you know, so it's not very difficult, but you know sometimes a player might get carried away, and that's when we have to step in.
But then who keeps you motivated? How do you end up staying so motivated?
Well, it's a mindset. It's the mindset. I try to be a professional as best as I can. So it's the mindset.
Okay. Well, the big question everybody is asking, do you think Mount Pleasant can win the title?
Well, we have everything to win, but you know it doesn't win here. You know we have to go on the training field, and you know we have to plan and prepare for it.
But what?
But I think we have everything though.
Okay, okay. And as you say that you have everything, I'll ask you this one. What sets this Mount Pleasant team apart from the rest of the JPL teams so far this season?
Well, the coaching staff, you know, I think
One of
we
the
have
best?
yeah, I think we have one of the best coaching staff. You know, the environment. Um, well, it's a lot. It's a lot of things that separates us. You know, the whole professionalism and all of that.
Yeah, it's always important that players are in a professional setup. I think once you feel at ease with what's happening off the field, I think we always tend to get good performances on the field. Anything, Sule, you want to say to the Mount Pleasant supporters? They've been rallying behind you. Do you know that I actually have a Mount Pleasant shirt? One of the players sent it for me on set, and I have one as well.
That's nice. That's nice.
Yeah. Anything you want to say to the
supporters? I'd love to see you wearing it, though.
All right. Next time I'm on the show, maybe a Friday, I'll wear it, okay?
Okay.
Anything you want to say to your supporters, though, that, you know, they show up match after match and they really want to see the team win that title?
Well, yeah. To the Mount Pleasant fans, this is Steve McLaren, your captain. I just want to say thank you for your continuous support, and hope you guys continue to support us and let us all take home this trophy and go on to CONCACAF and do great things together.
So I'm going to ask you a question, and you will say the first word or the first phrase that comes to your mind, okay?
Okay.
All right. The favorite goal that you have scored?
Against Trinidad.
All right. Next one. The last emoji that you texted?
Heart.
A heart. I wonder. Okay. Now this one. Would you rather call or would you rather text?
Call.
Call?
Yeah, call.
Oh, okay. What's the best part about being a Jamaican?
Food.
Yeah, I thought that as well. All right.
Yeah.
Now, would you prefer a night in or a night out?
Night in.
Okay. One word to describe Mount Pleasant Football Club.
Professional.
Do you have a ritual on match day? Is there something that you do special?
No.
No rituals. Okay.
No.
Now, the most difficult team that you faced in your career so far?
I think it's an Harborview team back in 2014, I think.
Okay, so Harborview gets that one. Now this one, who's your funniest teammate? It can be from the Reggae Boyz, it can also be from Mount Pleasant. Who's the funniest?
Jamai Toby.
All right. And this last one country you haven't been to and you'd like to visit?
Spain.
All right, I wonder why, but only time will tell. I mean, Spain has La Liga. Maybe you want to play in La Liga.
My favorite country other than from Jamaica.
All right, okay. Well, we're going to head across now to social media and let's see what they've been saying about you and your team. Let's take this post, of course, from 2024 when you scored for Mount Pleasant. Trishana McGowan says, he's that player and that captain, Sule McCalla, with a good header to give Pleasant the lead over Tivoli with 5 minutes remaining. Do you remember this? It was in 2024. What do you have to say to that post?
It was a tough game. I think I just find something special on that day.
Yeah. All right. And of course, everybody talks about how great of a captain you are. Let's take this one now from the Jamaica Observer. What are they saying? Against the backdrop of the Jamaica Reggae Boyz qualification to the 2025 CONCACAF Gold Cup, head coach Steve McLaren believes that the local-based players have been hugely pivotal to the team's progress. The national senior men's football team beat St. Vincent and the Grenadines 3-0 in the CONCACAF Gold Cup preliminary match at Sabina Park. So again, this one from the Observer, just talking about, heading into the Gold Cup now. Sule, a quick comment on this one?
The local players, they mentioned the local players. I think we really stepped in the squad and really match up to the levels of, everyone that was from overseas. So it's really a statement for us.
Okay. Yeah, and we're very happy. We're rooting for all of you, and we can't wait to see what you do. Well, first of all, which team you draw at the Gold Cup. That draw is April 10, and then how you go on from there. But Sule, I know you're a busy man. I want to thank you so much for joining me on today's show, and I look forward to chatting with you again really soon.
Yeah, definitely, anytime.
Yeah, well folks, that's a wrap for today's episode on In Case You Missed It. Be sure to like, share and comment and let me know what you thought about today's interview and which team are you supporting for the CONCACAF Gold Cup. Goodbye for now.